Hello, everybody. This is Fernando for the latest Silent Hill podcast. Another entry for you here. This game, I'm actually almost finished watching this walkthrough. It's about 5 hours long, the walkthrough that I picked to watch for the first Silent Hill game. So I'm almost wrapped up. I've been watching it in parts, obviously. And the next monster that's encountered here, it has an interesting backstory on where it's found. Apparently, the version that I found it in, that I was watching in the walkthrough, it's located only in one area of the game. But in other parts of the world, it's located in the entire game itself. And it's interesting to note that because I'll talk about the reasons here in a minute, but what I'm talking about is the monster known as the Mumbler, which you'll see a picture of here. Now, if it looks very reminiscent of another monster, i.e. the Grey Child, then you're right. It is pretty much the same thing as the Grey Child. The way it moves, the way it attacks, the way it has its health, it's pretty much the same thing. And the reason for it is this. It's meant to actually replace the Grey Child in other parts of the world. You see, the Grey Child, just a quick picture of it here. It was a creature that was originally found in one of the early stages of the school. However, it was seen as way too similar to that of a child. Obviously, it's called a Grey Child. It's supposed to represent a child. In this case, the children that Alessa was schoolmates with back when she was there in school. And in some parts of the world, especially those that are outside of the US, that was seen as way too much of a bad thing. They did not want to have games where you're basically attacking children with knives and you're killing children that are trying to kill you. So this Grey Child was instead replaced with the Mumbler. So here in the US, in other words, if you play the game, you'll find the Grey Child in the schools. But later on in the game, you'll find the Mumblers in the sewers. But in other parts of the world, the Grey Children do not exist. Instead, the Mumblers are in the schools and the Mumblers are in the sewers. That's why whenever I was watching this guy play the walkthrough, and I'm again in the last parts of the game, there he was again in the sewers, and that's when the first time these Mumblers come out. And then I was thinking to myself, I could have sworn I had read somewhere earlier that they were in other parts of the game beforehand, but then that's when I heard about this history. Strange thing how censorship works, how in some countries it's okay and how in other countries it is not. But again, that's how the world works. So what are Mumblers? Well, again, Mumblers, they're found in the second sewers that you run into. They're there housed with some of the other creatures, the hanging scratchers, for example. And basically, the Mumblers are small creatures with two things that stand out. Number one, they have a giant hole in their head, completely pretty much takes away the eyes, the nose, the mouth. All it is just a giant vacant hole where the face should normally be. And then the second most distinct thing, they have these gigantic claws on each of their arms. That is their main weapon. They attack with those claws. And again, they move essentially like the Grey Child. They slowly lumber up towards Harry. And whenever they reach Harry, they do the same thing that the Grey Child does, where they almost try to latch on to his legs, onto his knees, very much so like a child is again trying to do so when they're clinging on to their parents. The Mumblers in this case are called Mumblers because they have this strange sound, this mumbling sound, whenever they're lumbering towards the player. And it's pretty easy to avoid the Mumblers altogether. They move very slow, so all you have to do is, if you really don't want to waste any ammo, just run around them. There are some occasions where I saw, though, where the guy that was in the walkthrough, he was facing some Mumblers in corners, and in specifically some very tight corners where the only entrance is like a small gateway of some sort, a small fence-like gateway, and so he had to take him out. And the way to do it is you could easily use your gun, which in this case he was doing, or if you want to use melee weapons, you can do so as well. The only other interesting note is their health seems to be a little bit more than the Grey Child, because this guy was easily spending almost 10 bullets with each Mumbler in order for it to be taken down. And then once that's done, then that's it. The Mumblers are, don't have any other form of attack. They don't jump, they don't run, they don't fly. All they do is they just lumber towards Harry, and you can either avoid them again or shoot them from a distance. Now, what they're supposed to represent all the small, menacing animals that Alessa used to read in all of her fairy tales, and in some cases, they're supposed to represent the really dark stuff, like the demons that she used to read in those fairy tales too. And so, once she had control of Silent Hill in the game, and once she influenced it into the dark world, then she brought those images to life, in this case through the form of the Mumblers. The Mumblers have only appeared in this one game itself when it comes to all the other games. They do have some interesting cameos, though. They have appeared in the play novel, which you'll see a picture of here. And in some cases, in the play novel, you come across two Mumblers with regards to that. They also appeared in the Silent Hill mobile game, which you'll see a picture of here. And so they've been there in that game as well. But that's it. No other Silent Hill 2, 3, 4, or any of the other games that have been within the franchise. So that is once again a one-off of some sort. The only other thing that they have appeared in, but this is a rarity, so big kudos to them, they appeared in the Silent Hill Revelation film. Now, with regards to both of those films, they included only a small tidbit of all the monsters in the Silent Hill franchise, and in some cases they created their own just for the film themselves. So for these Mumblers to make a cameo, that makes it very, very nice, very rare. Basically, they made their cameo in this scene, and that's when there was a portion where the sketches were being reviewed in the game. It was from Heather. She was looking at some drawings within the book, and then that's when she came across this thing. And I believe it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I believe this is when she's looking through what her father had written down throughout over the years about Silent Hill, about the world of Silent Hill, and then that's when she came across this sketch. But alas, this was it. The Mumbler did not appear within the film itself in physical form. It would have made an interesting, let's say, companion, because obviously the first film had the Grey Child as an actual very memorable monster. It was the first one encountered within the film itself. So for this, the Mumbler, it would have been perfect for it to have been like a second cameo of sorts. But again, it did not do so. So the Mumbler, another interesting entry within the Silent Hill franchise. I'm going to go ahead and I'll probably wrap up the next 2-3 videos or so soon. And then that'll be it. That'll be it for the Silent Hill first series here in my podcast, and shortly after that I'll start talking about the Silent Hill 2 monsters. Alright everybody, thanks again as always, take care.